how do you read Scripture? The technical term would be exegesis or your hermeneutic. What's your hermeneutic? Hermeneutic means the science of interpretation. What's the science of interpretation you're implementing?
The methodology.
The methodology. The methodology that we would implement in our faith tradition would be, we would employ what's called a historical grammatical hermeneutic, which in simple terms means what did the grammar and the original audience glean from the text, according to the grammar and the original meaning of those words. So whatever it meant to them has not lost or changed its truth over the last 2,000 years, it would mean the same to me.
Yep.
That's not excluding the fact that it could have spiritual or prophetic implications and layers of truth to it, but the historical grammatical interpretation is our primary hermeneutic. However, people who would probably be from a different faith tradition, which are more synonymous with replacement or replenishment theology, would probably employ more of an allegorical hermeneutic, where there are more symbols, meanings, and layers of metaphor that are its primary definition, not deeper layers. Whereas for us, literal grammatical hermeneutic, the symbolism, the metaphor is certainly allowed. It's just used to also reinforce that first layer of truth.
Yep. So where aren't replacement theology advocates on strong ground?
I think once 1948 happened, premillennialism became a little bit more popular. In 1947, replacement theology was still going strong because, like I said, even from Ezekiel's day, Israel pretty much wasn't a nation, not in any sense, and certainly in Jesus' day when he's talking about the end times, they were under occupation of Roman rule at the time, and they really didn't have their own national identity, certainly not in the way that they have it today.
So let me play devil's advocate quite literally. How is a 1948 interpretation of those prophecies not exactly the criticism levied against the early church fathers of reinterpreting Scripture through our experience? So where it was not popular in 1947, all of a sudden there's a state of Israel. Well, now we can interpret the Scriptures better. How is that not us interpreting Scripture through experience?
Well, premillennialism has been a constant over 2,000 years. It's I would put forward the argument, that's what the disciples taught. It's what the disciples of the disciples taught, like Polycarp, even the early church fathers. It certainly started to diverge, like
Polycarp
I said before.
was discipled by John.
Yeah, correct. So the disciple of John certainly held to that. Tertullian was certainly premillennialist. A lot of these guys, and even Irenaeus, who I talked about before, he was a premillennialist, even though he started to go down the replenishment theology route. But it's always been, we've been constant. It's just that for the last 1,500 years of church history, strongly, and probably 1,700 years, it has taken a divergent course to swing out to amillennialism, and
which means
there is no millennial reign, that there's no literal rule and reign of King Jesus on planet Earth.
There is no second coming?
There's a second coming, but it's a coming of heaven to earth. So we step straight into eternity.